What if I told you that the perfect spot you're searching for, 100 yards out on the ice, is actually the one you just walked over? Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Today, we're talking about the single biggest, most common mistake in choosing where to drill a hole, an error that an honest 9 out of 10 anglers make, season after season. And by the end of this video, you'll see the ice in a completely new way. You'll understand why that one guy who barely leaves the shore often outfishes everyone else combined. And here's a hint. It has nothing to do with fancy electronics or secret lures. It's about a simple psychological trap we all fall into. Think you've already got it figured out? Let me know in the comments right now what you believe this mistake is, and let's see if you're right by the end. Let's be honest. Where you decide to drill that first hole is the most critical decision you'll make all day. You can have the best gear in the world, the most expensive flasher, the fanciest jigs. But if there are no fish below you, you're just having a cold day outdoors. For years, the common wisdom has been to go deep or find the community spots. We see a cluster of shanties in the distance, and our brains tell us that's where the fish must be. It's human nature. We're wired to follow the crowd and to believe that harder work, like a long trek to the middle of the lake, is supposed to yield a bigger reward. But on the ice, that logic is often completely backward. Let's start by painting a picture you know all too well. It's early morning. The air is so cold it stings your face. You step out of your truck, grab your gear, and walk onto the frozen lake. The sun is just starting to hit the horizon. All around you, other anglers are doing the same thing. It's a familiar and exciting ritual, the start of another day on the hardwater. You have your plan, your spots you want to hit, and a thermos full of hot coffee. But the very first steps you take on that ice are where the mistake begins for most people, before a single hole is even drilled. Now, watch what happens next. Look around. You, and almost everyone else, begin the march. It's a determined walk away from the shore, out toward the perceived action spots. Some head for the deepest basin, others for a known mid-lake hump. The shoreline you just left is now firmly behind you, forgotten. It's an almost subconscious instinct to put distance between yourself and the land. We feel like we have to get out there to find the fish, as if the ones close to shore are somehow less worthy or simply don't exist in the winter. But we need to stop and ask a simple question. Why? Why do we instinctively walk so far? What is it about the middle of the lake that holds such a powerful allure? Is it because that's where we see other people? Is it because a map tells us there's a 30-foot hole out there? We're chasing a concept, an idea of where fish should be, rather than thinking about where they actually are. This autopilot approach is the root of the problem. We're following a script written by decades of fishing tradition, and it's time to tear that script up. A huge part of this is the deep water myth. We've all heard it, and many of us preach it. In the winter, everything moves deep. The water is more stable, the temperature is consistent, and that's where the fish go to wait out the cold. And to be fair, there is some truth to that. Some fish, particularly on certain bodies of water, will absolutely suspend over deep basins. But it is not a universal rule. It is a guideline that has been mistakenly hardened into a law, and it's a law that causes us to overlook incredible opportunities. So let's really challenge that old idea. Do all the fish in the lake move to the deepest hole and just sit there for 4 months? Of course not. More importantly, even the ones that relate to deep water, do they stay there 24/7? Absolutely not. Fish have to eat, and the primary food sources are very often not in the deepest, most barren part of the lake. The challenge is to deprogram our brains from this deep is better mentality and start thinking more like a predator that needs to find its next meal. Alright, here it is. The single biggest mistake that 9 out of 10 anglers make is completely ignoring the shoreline. I'm not talking about fishing in 2 feet of water right at the edge. I'm talking about that first zone, from roughly 10 to 50 yards out from the bank. That entire area that we treat as just an on-ramp to the real fishing spots. This is without a doubt the most underfished and often most productive real estate on any frozen lake. And we walk right over it every single time. So why do we ignore it? It's psychology. Fishing close to shore feels, well, it feels too easy. It feels like a beginner's move. There's no glory in telling your buddies you caught a monster walleye just 30 yards from the boat launch. We feel like we haven't earned it unless we've dragged our gear a half-mile in the biting wind. It's a strange ego-driven habit that convinces us that the treasure must be buried far away, not right under our feet as we start our journey. It's a trap, and we fall for it over and over again. Let's talk about what you're actually walking over. The most important piece of fish holding structure on almost any body of water is the first drop-off. This is that initial break line where the shallow shelf near the shore gives way to deeper water. It might be a sharp 2-foot drop or a gradual slope, but it is a critical edge. Think of it as a highway for fish. They use this edge to travel, to hunt, and to stage before moving up to feed. By marching straight to the middle, you are walking right over the interstate highway of the fish world. Here's a simple way to visualize it. Picture that same spot in the middle of summer. You can see the weed lines, the fallen trees, the big rocks, and the points that jut out from the shore. All of that is still right there under the ice. That deadfall tree that holds base in July is now perfect ambush cover for a winter pike or a school of crappie. That thick weed bed that died back is now a soft bottom area full of insects and invertebrates, drawing in perch and bluegill. The structure doesn't disappear just because it's frozen. And now for the most important part, food. Why do fish relate to this shoreline structure? Because that's where the grocery store is. The vast, deep basin of a lake can be a food desert, but the shallow shoreline zone is teeming with life. This is where minnows and young-of-the-year baitfish hide from predators in the remaining weeds and rocks. This is where invertebrates and other food sources are concentrated. The fish are not there by accident. They are there because it's where they can find an easy meal. It's the most basic rule of fishing, yet we forget it under the ice. Follow the food. If you can find the concentrations of bait fish, you will find the predators that are hunting them. And in winter, those bait fish are not typically hanging out in 40 feet of barren water. They are using the cover and structure offered by the shoreline zone. Walleye, pike, jumbo perch, and slab crappie will cruise these shallow break lines, especially during low light periods, looking for their next meal. You need to be there to intercept them. Let's call this area the transition zone. It's the critical link between the shallow feeding flats and the deeper resting areas. Fish don't just magically appear in one place or the other. They move. They travel along these defined paths, and the first drop-off is the most heavily traveled path on the lake. By setting up here, you are not just hoping for a school to swim by randomly. You are setting up on a predictable travel corridor. You are playing the percentages in a massive way. So, how do we break the habit and start fishing this zone effectively? It starts before you even get to the lake. Step 1 is pre-scouting. Use satellite mapping apps like Google Maps or dedicated fishing apps in satellite view. Look at the lake during open water. Identify key shoreline features, distinct points, sharp inside turns, large visible rock piles, or creek inlets. These are your starting points. Mark them on your GPS. You're building a game plan that focuses entirely on these near-shore structures. Step 2 is execution on the ice. The first holes you drill should be part of a strategy. Instead of walking 100 yards and drilling one hole, start just 20 or 30 yards from shore. And don't drill randomly. Drill a line of 3 or 4 holes parallel to the shoreline. This allows you to quickly map out the bottom. You are specifically looking to find the top edge and the bottom edge of that first break line. This is your target zone. This is where your flasher becomes an invaluable tool, but you'll use it differently. You're not searching for a massive 40-foot drop. You're looking for something much more subtle. Drop your transducer in each hole. You might see the depth change from 8 feet to 10 feet to 12 feet over the course of your 3 holes. That 10-foot reading? That is the sweet spot. That is the edge of the fish highway. A simple 1 or 2 foot change in depth is often all it takes to concentrate a huge number of fish. Now, I can already hear the objection from some of you. But the water is too shallow. The fish will be spooky under the ice. This is one of the biggest myths in ice fishing. While it's true that you need to be quieter in shallow water, the fish are far less spooky than you think, especially when there's even a thin layer of snow on the ice to block out the light. They feel secure. In fact, they are often far more aggressive and willing to feed in these shallow zones than they are out in the deep. The key is timing. These shallow near-shore areas are absolute gold mines during the low light periods. The first hour of daylight and the last hour of daylight are prime time. This is when predators feel most comfortable sliding up onto the flats to feed. During midday, they might pull back to the base of that first drop-off, but they rarely go far. By focusing on this zone, you are in a high percentage area for the most active feeding windows of the day. Think about the community hold trap again. Those dozens of shanties clustered in the middle of the lake are often sitting over a featureless basin. They are playing a waiting game, hoping a suspended school of nomadic fish swims under them. They might get a flurry of action for 20 minutes, and then it's dead for hours. You, on the other hand, are fishing a specific spot with a purpose. You are fishing structure, where fish consistently relate and travel. Your approach is surgical, not a game of chance. It all comes down to a simple shift in mindset. You need to start thinking like a predator. A wolf doesn't wait in the middle of an open field hoping a rabbit runs by. It waits near the edge of the woods, using the cover to its advantage to ambush its prey. The shoreline, with its drop-offs, weeds and rocks, is the woods of the underwater world. Be the wolf. Hunt the edges. Don't wander out into the empty field with everyone else. So, the next time you walk out onto the ice, pause. Take a look around. Resist that powerful urge to march toward the horizon. The goal isn't to get a good workout. The goal is to find and catch fish. And the simple, game-changing truth is that you very likely walked right over them on your way out. The best spot on the lake might just be a few steps from where you started. Give it an honest try. I promise you, it will change the way you ice fish forever. So there you have it. The big mistake, the one that so many of us make, isn't about our bait, our rod, or our electronics. It's the powerful, psychological pull to walk right past the fish in search of some mythical spot far from shore. The true aha moment is realizing that the most valuable real estate on the lake isn't in the middle. It's that first crucial drop-off that you ignored on your way out. Making this simple shift in your strategy can honestly turn a day of fruitless hole-hopping and frustration into a day of consistent, memorable action. You'll spend less time searching and a whole lot more time fishing. Thank you so much for watching. If this just blew your mind a little bit, or confirmed something you've suspected for years, do me a favor and hit that like button and subscribe for more no-nonsense fishing advice. And now I really want to hear from you. What's the best fish you've ever caught within 50 yards of the shore through the ice? Let's prove this theory right here in the comments below. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you on the next one.